of Kittens and Broken Things, Chapter 24. Thane sat in the same position he'd been in after Vicarian left. Kara upstairs resting. He intended to give them both privacy and likely would not have many opportunities to speak to Vicarian again in person if events proceeded as he envisioned. It would be best to not exacerbate the insult that he spent time with Kara in Vicarian's absence. He would not force Vicarian to social nicety. Thane could use the front or rear exit and be absent for all of the time Vicarian would be able to see her. His main remaining concern was Kara's reticence regarding consummation of bond and what damage it would do to them both, or what benefit it was to her in autonomy and to Vicarian in ignorance. Thane favored Vicarian, for whom her pure autonomy would be painful and unnecessary if he could be brought to understand Kara's concerns without taking critical advantage of her. Without Thane's intervention, it was possible that Kara would insist upon remaining separate until one or both of them died without consummation. A potentially impossible and unnecessary sacrifice. She spoke as though she were two separate entities, but she was Shepard as truly as she was Kara. She wanted what Shepard wanted. That was something only he was in the unique position to address. If she were able to integrate her idealism and ambitions, perhaps she would be better able to hold her position and still be a bondmate. Could he lessen an absolute in a woman known for them? More importantly, should he, or would it destabilize her critically? With her force of will, there was no question that she could defend the right to remain Shepard on her terms. That would be ideal, as Thane was not likely to live long. Perhaps she would choose being only Shepard. And that would be an incalculable loss, innocence being infinite in value. Thane did not believe he could bring that about. Only if that were the outcome, he would regret asking her to shift perspectives. From what he had seen of them, stolen and given moments, they did love each other. From what he had seen of Vicarian during her death, he had planned a life of devotion to her ideals. He had promised her she would be safe from Vicarian attempting to remove her from command, and he must find a way to do that. Thane staying alive for the rest of her life was not a viable plan. Ignoring the situation and allowing it to work out would result in Vicarian respecting her out of momentary setback. But there would be relentless pursuit. It was unavoidable. Bond would demand it. He doubted Kara understood the power of that drive alone, much less her desire for that bond to take place. Reverie over time would cause her inhibitions to fail, and her inhibitions themselves caused her distress. He needed to remember she had not had sex, knew of it only intellectually. But that would not stand against a determined bondmate accustomed to finding solutions to problems. Thane could not allow her to be treated as an obstacle, could not allow her to experience herself as one. The earlier conversation with Kara, mentioning speaking to her parents, her will for him to reconnect to Irikah, brought Irikah's voice to him on the subject.
Oh, Tussock, you would know about relentless pursuit.
Teasing, humor, and love in her voice, making him close his eyes and breathe, recalling her scent and the way Light loved her as he did. The smile on her face and easy grace of her body. Tassak. A word he'd avoided. Her name for him. The Tassak were clan trackers who found the lost in the desert, sought out water sources and food. She had always focused on tracking being of benefit to the group. She had attempted to bring him more into the clan image of tracker rather than hunter, and had failed. But the name remained. He did know about relentless pursuit. Ree, would you have been best without me? Would she be best without him? I thought I knew. If I do not know the first, how am I to know the second?
Perhaps you had better ask whether or not the shore would be best without the tidal wave bearing down upon her. Circumstances as they are, there is nothing the shore can do but be rearranged, and there is no force beyond that of the gods or death to stop a Tassak from finding his intended quarry. Would he at any point turn the other way, back out to the sea that welcomes him and understands him?
For shame, Ree. Women are not like the sand. Were I to say such, your wrath. He smiled. Memories of teasing of her sharp mind and wit that was never brittle, but flexible and bright, always new as spring grass. She knew him.
My wrath. As though you would not know what to do with wrath. There are many places where I hold strength, but I would be a fool to invoke your temper. I am not a fool.
Perhaps not now. But were you once a fool? Scattered as the shore? A comparison I do not support, but you prefer not arguing. He also had preferred not arguing, silence his shield and his tendency to draw her mouth to his, the most often proffered response.
Listen and hear me well, Tassak. You gave me love, you gave me a son, you gave me years of beauty and joy, and silent argument. You were as you were, and I was as I was, and we were able to meet in shared places. I could not travel to the sea, and you could not travel inland, but we could meet. Between us, we held what made up all the worlds, land and sea. Without you, I would never have been drawn out of myself. I cherish what you gave me. I could not have been loved so fiercely by another.
His eyes stung, and hearing her voice, he was reminded of the question always asked first when one hears of the death of their beloved. Did they suffer? She had suffered. He had carried a picture of her broken body with him, and each time the grieving, raging hunter found someone who had been in the room where she had died, or a person involved in any step leading to someone being in that room with her, he showed them her picture and asked, who was it that put this mark upon her body? He asked them or told them what had been done to her moment by moment until the stories blended into the horrific entirety of what had happened to her, what happened to them. He knew that picture. Each mark had a name. Each name had a death. Each death had marks of their own. He told her. I did listen. I did hear well.
You are not a god, Tassak. Only death.
I am not a god, but death stalks them both. You and I had our years. I had my pursuit. His pursuit is over, and she is sure, but she still holds him at bay, for potentially no reason if circumstances were to change. For both of them, it has been years. For him, longer. For her, feared and fated. I imagine you and I separated for 3 of our years. What I would not hold in memory. What 3 years of my life without you means to me, and I wish for them to take what they can of each other and be blessed as I was.
We would not have had Kolyat without those years.
And the innocent are infinite in value.
They cannot have children.
But they can have each other.
And if she is right, and he takes her away, you are dead and Kolyat is at risk?
Everyone's child is at risk. I cannot care for everyone. I care for you. I care for her. I care for Kolyat and his life, but it must be possible for her to have her hunt and her love.
Then there is your answer, my Tasak. You wish a thing, therefore a thing shall be. You wish for her happiness. You know it is not with you. You believe it could be with him. Yet you would kill him if he does not provide happiness in the depth and breadth you desire for her?
I was not good enough for you. He is not good enough for her.
Must desire be good?
I would not know.
And there you are a liar yet again.
Not angry. Irikah was never angry. She was wise, she was restrained, she was permissive, and he rarely managed to speak with her for long without drawing her to him and bending her body to his as seemed his right and her joy. I know my desire for you is the greatest good I've known. I am not convinced it was good for you.
Was I somehow unconvincing, Tasak?
She had never been unconvincing. Never that. He missed her beyond speech, as though the breath were pressed from his lungs and blood from his flesh, and he was like the undead that rose up in starlight and stalked the desert for sustenance they would never find, to fall again to sand in the sunlight. You were born generous. It would be beyond my power to take that from you.
You grant all glory of creation to the gods. You are devout and mistaken. Beyond gods in duty. I needed you and loved you as you were each day. You wonder if a woman can blend her duty and her love? How are you to help her if you cannot reconcile your grief and your love? How can you convince him to allow her to be as she is, do as she must do, be in danger and unguarded, if you cannot allow that I chose the same for myself?
You did not send me away. You did not keep me away. Perhaps it would simply be best if I had them both drugged and left on a moon with no transport or communication.
That would be easiest. You are not a man of easy.
And you have never been a woman of straight answers.
Liar. So many things to which I said yes.
Every day, Ree. Every day. I miss you.
Remember, when you allow them to take me from you, you allow them to take you from me. What if I am not a voice in your head? What if the gods, about whom you are so devout and mistaken, allow me to speak to you from the shores? Every day I miss you, Tasak.
Irikah.
You have lived your grief. I have seen it. You need not speak it again. I am gone from the worlds, but not from your heart, and they cannot take me from you if you do not let them. You sought to save everyone you saw who suffered. You never asked for help or aid. You took it all upon yourself. I was there, willing to help, willing to aid, wanting to. I am here now, and the same need is there. Listen to her. Listen to me. You know my voice, my thoughts, Tassak, as you knew my body. Save your wrath for those who deserve it, not for yourself. Save yourself. You suffer. I do not demand, require, or ask for your suffering. I never did. It is you who requires that to be your greatest truth. My greatest truth is that I love you. I found love and spent each day embracing his gifts.
I listen. I hear. And if her story ends as yours did because I counseled him to grant her choices?
Perhaps in this case we are like the sand, ubiquitous. You cannot gather us fully in your hands, and perhaps holding a handful makes you believe you understand the land from which it came. We are children of mountains, and not so easily counted or contained. Our story does not end. I live in you. She would live in him. You live in those whose lives you have saved. So does and would she. He forged a future with that fire after she died. Whether or not desire must be good, in their case it has been. I am now as I was in life, Tassak. Do not profess to know all the answers. She spoke of consent, and you spoke of spirit, and here I speak of will. You are forgiven and loved, yet you are ever driven toward further accomplishment. You will never earn rest until you are dead. You know that you will not choose to do nothing when you see something could be done. He is powerful and willful. He wishes to grant his authority to his Ava, yet she is human and not bound to Turian law. He himself is not bound. He creates law. With her he will create his own law. You have ignored consent, and you will continue to do so. He will seek to wear down her consent. You with Tiamat, and he with reverie, will dissolve with the tide whatever castle she seeks to build of herself. Her consent is lost and is but a fiction. Know what she is capable of doing when she realizes she wasted time on castles in the sand. That she waited on the shore hoping to see you, to see him, when she could have been safe. Perhaps she will wish to return to the mountain, out of reach of the tide. You will both lose her. Both be aware of selfish scheming that will deny you the right to her memory.
She loves him. She would forgive him. He did not extend that same right to himself.
As I forgive you, as I love you, that does not mean she deserves to be placed in the position of having to forgive. Just as you should not be placed in a position where you must kill. Just as he should not be placed in a position where he must overcome an obstacle. It is what you do. As you have observed, none of you will see a choice when you are asked to do, for seemingly good reason, what you are best at doing.
So I must change one variable and hope all other variables do not fall? Control that she chooses to consummate bond by her own will, spirit, and consent? Be a whole person? Bid his tidal wave to stand unmoving until she reaches out her hand in welcome?
As ever, you ask not why, but how.
Tell me you love me, Ree.
I love you, Tassak, always. Remember that sand is also at the bottom of the deepest sea. You are not as mysterious as you presume to be, not to me.
Is there ever a possibility that I could be forgiven?
By me that is already done. By the gods, I cannot say, but I would stand by your side and beg them to forgive you.
By Kolyat?
He is young. Grant him time and experience and me by your side.
As you say, Ree. May it be as you say.
And may those who you saved from slavery, from destitution, from disease, and from death stand with me.
May it be so. Russ left Garrus's apartment, shaken and settled and horrified and content. Several things not to fear any longer. New things to fear. He was gonna take Garrus's advice and sleep with someone who looked like him. Maybe several someones. He headed to the bar. Instead of a booth, he sat at the bar, ordered a shot of Horisk. Time to celebrate freedom and unbearable stress. He no longer needed to worry if Garrus knew, if someone told him, if Krios was going to do something about it. He downed the shot, his back to the patrons, raised a hand and spun it once around his head, then walked out. Several Vicarians followed him. Krennis smirked and brought a drink back to his table. "Round up, lucky bastards," Adonis said. What the hell just happened? What's a roundup? Russ either had a very good or a very bad day, and a bunch of people are gonna have a really good night. And they just follow him when he does that? Wouldn't you? Well, yeah, but... yeah, thought so.
Garrus headed back to the apartment, shaken and dreading the conversation to come. He'd had enough for one day. He'd had enough for a decade. This time he let himself in and found Krios in the same position, sat down in his original seat. Russ would like to stay. Apologies all around to whoever wants them.
I do not require an apology, but as long as his service to her is commendable, I will be content.
Thank you for protecting her.
You are welcome. I empathize that you are unable to do so. I understand this is an excruciating ordeal. I will attempt to make it easier if I can.
Much appreciated. So, assuming you're not going to sell us all out and aren't doing this for the money or to hand us over to Reaper forces, why exactly are you doing this?
Thane blinked and considered what he'd just thought about. Who he had just thought about. Commander Shepard is a formidable woman. Lal Shepard is a charming and intelligent woman. Kara Fanning is worthy of fierce protection. I have spent a lifetime getting what I want for myself, and I have failed to protect those who deserved protection most. My wife, Irikah, was murdered in revenge for the sins of my profession. My son was abandoned for those same sins. I failed to protect both of them in pursuit of what I wanted. Seeing that I wanted Commander Shepard and admired Lal Shepard, but Kara Fanning was and is beyond my ambitions and always will be. I can at least protect her. That is what I propose to do. I have little use for payment, or what I want, any longer, Counselor. Taking her for myself would result in her grief and her loss, and I do not wish to inflict that upon her. She would not consider me as a worthy candidate as a mate. She is worthy of protection. You of all people should know that.
Garrus almost considered asking Krios to call him Garrus, but still couldn't do it. One more step in the direction of confidence and trust that he was not at all willing to make. I'm sorry to hear about your wife. Of course I can understand that.
I propose that you inform me of when you wish to visit. We will arrange ourselves around your schedule if you let me know what that is. I do wish to spend time with her as we would otherwise on the ship. I can be of use to her in devising strategy, in fending off whatever loneliness she experiences in her isolation. I will also leave her entirely to her own isolation when she wishes for that to be so. I will be gone before you arrive. If you could also inform me of when you leave, I will return after that mark.
All right.
I believe you are a good man, Counselor. I believe you love her. Were it otherwise, I would not have allowed your relationship to continue. You have reverie, but I have venom. As I spoke of death threats, I will issue a boundary I will not permit you to cross without retaliation. She has set her boundaries, but you do not understand why. I do. I do not necessarily believe that she has set her boundaries wisely, but I also will not permit you to overrun them. If you are a good man, you will understand this. If you are not, it will not matter if I am dead. I will devote remaining favors, resources, and money to ensuring that frighteningly competent people will be watching and will kill you. Kara Fanning has her reasons for deciding that you should not consummate bond, and that is, as we both know, not likely to last at the rate of attrition of her willpower. I applaud your persistence, or I would be a hypocrite. My wife was also a woman worthy of pursuit. Nothing would have stopped me. I will convince her that she should consummate your bond. This cannot come from you, or you will both bear regrets that last a lifetime. You must not ask her to relinquish command under any circumstances. You must not leave the post of counselor unless or until she asks you to under any circumstances. You will stop at whatever border of invasion into her willpower you have achieved at this point in time, and you will remain there until she invites you of her own will. And you will know you have earned it, not stolen it. I must bear the penalty of invasion myself. You should not wish that upon yourself. Allow her to tell you in her own time. This is her will, therefore it is my will. It should be your will with her as your Ava, and I wish to remind you of such. As I told Spectre Orbiston, he deserved one warning to do his job, and only one. You deserve the same. I respect you because she respects you, and because of your record in office and of service. I see that you love her. I know you will care for Kolyat no matter my trespasses. And because I know that, I do wish you well and wish you happiness, but not at the expense of hers. I also know that will wear on your restraint until you have none. I will provide additional motivation.
And you don't care if I understand? I don't deserve to understand?
It is not about deserving, Counselor. It is about what she chooses to give. You have taken enough. Beyond this point, for your sake and for hers, you honor her will, as I will and have on a mission, though it results in my death or hers. I am not asking you to do something I would not do myself, and I will get nothing from it but the satisfaction of serving her will. You will get a bondmate in truth, and not name. You should understand that she loves you beyond the capacity of most to love. If you require faith, have faith in that.
I feel the need to issue my own standard death threat. I don't need conditions. I'll know it when I see it.
Of course, as I have said, I deserve death several times over. I need not question it. Death will come to me soon, Counselor. Until it does, I will keep it from her, if at all possible.
Thank you.
You are welcome. I plan to take her to a tailor, provide her with new clothes, makeup, what is necessary for public appearances. I imagine there are limitations in what gifts you can bring to her. You cannot be caught shopping. If you wish, I can procure things for you, and you can present them without risk of discovery. If you wish, imagine this apartment to be in essence a gift from you. As you watch us, though I would suggest you do not, but I doubt you will be able to avoid it, you will see that she finds me attractive, that she even loves me in her own way. But you must always know, she would never allow me to touch her beyond show.
Yet you have venom.
Yes, I do. I have used it. I will use it. You are aware of how assassin venom differs from typical venom? I could demonstrate, if not.
That won't be necessary. How in the hell? What do you mean about convincing her to sleep with me? I'm about at the limit of my what-the-fuck tolerance for a day.
This all depends on whether or not you are a man of honor. I believe you to be. I also believe bond to be the one thing that would override your rational choices, that your instinct will be driven to extremes to protect her.
Doesn't that seem just a bit fucked up to you? I can sleep with her as long as I agree to let her die?
I agree to let her die, and I will not sleep with her.
You'd better fucking not.
I recall your death threat as given, Counselor. There is no need to repeat it. I am Drell. I will never forget.
I say this with as much respect as I can manage after today. Please get the fuck out of this apartment and I will tell you when you can come back.
Of course, Counselor. Thank you for your time.
Thane left and Garrus took the stairs two at a time again, calmed upon seeing her exactly as he'd left her, though slightly more rumpled with sleep. Fuck. He worried about venom and sleep. He worried about reverie. He worried about new things. He lifted her and cradled her on his lap, nuzzled at her throat and her hair until she woke. Krios' threats had been effective, and he tried to imagine looming motivations beyond shyness for the Drell's demands. Do not press at her set boundaries. It would be impossible. And that was his daily demand. Now his life would be impossible, but he would have a life. She was alive. She was in his arms. That should be more than he could have ever have asked to be true. But Krios was right, and his own looming motivations made it impossible for him to think. But he did not doubt that Krios would find out and would kill him. 5 simple rules. Don't talk during reverie. Don't ask her to leave command. Don't leave the counselorship. Don't push at her boundaries. Do not create the conditions where these boundaries are violated through inaction or action. Wait until she crosses over or invites him herself. Fuck. What did he mean by convincing her to sleep with him? Is that what they did? Discuss the workings of her mind to that depth of intimacy under venom? Fuck. Limieth, I'm back. Russ will stay. He says he's sorry. I say I'm sorry. Krios scares the hell out of me.
Good. Then you're paying attention. I told you he was terrifying.
He loves you.
Yes.
You love him.
Yes.
You love me more, right?
Oh, yes. Always. Forever. No comparison.
Spirits. Say that again.
No comparison.
Why is he disqualified from you touching him, may I ask?
He's married, Garrus. He promised her forever. She waits for him by the shores in Drell tradition. I've asked him to honor that. Love is once and forever for me. You're my once and forever. Irikah is his. I could never do that to her.
But she's dead.
So was I. Did you stop loving me?
Never.
He loves her, and he knows it. I know it. He knows I love you.
He asked me to respect your boundaries.
Why should he have to? I've asked you to respect my boundaries.
Yes, but he's included death threats.
Maybe I should have thought of that.
I wouldn't believe you.
Maybe that's the problem.
Kiss me, Lemieth. No more problems. Not today. Only solutions.
She did as he asked, as he wanted. Venom long gone and reverie filtering into her sunlit blood.